Hey friends, so it's really late on Sunday night. I'm trying not to wake my husband up. I have to get up in like 4 hours to get on an airplane. I'm going on a little vacation with my mom, my sister, and my future daughter-in-law. So I'm super excited. Just a quick vacation girls trip, but I forgot to record this week's devotional. So let's talk about being chosen, okay? Most of us can think of times when we weren't chosen, right? I was thinking earlier today about those times in school when you would have team captains and they would start calling names and you would be waiting to have your name called. One by one, names would be called. And if you were like me, you would just be standing there hoping that your name would be finally said. I wasn't athletic at all. I have struggled with weight most of my life, so I was usually one of the last ones chosen, and it never felt good, right? Or maybe you experienced something like this. I remember having crushes on boys in school, and you would hope that they would choose you, and sometimes they didn't. They chose the other girl, the one that maybe they thought was prettier, and your heart would just sink, right? And those feelings don't always go away when we grow up. I felt it in my own life as an adult, even in ministry. I can't tell you how many times I wanted the solo, and I didn't get it, or how many times I've watched opportunities fall easily into the laps of others. Even when I started at Northside, I wasn't chosen right away for the praise team. I was actually one of the last ones asked. And it hurt. But now, as I look back on it, I can see that God was preparing me. And that's the same thing that we see in David's life. If you'll read 1 Samuel 16, Samuel went to Jesse's house to anoint the next king of Israel. Jesse lined up all of his impressive sons. They looked the part, but God said no to each of them. David wasn't even invited to the lineup. He was out in the fields with the sheep, overlooked by his own father, forgotten by man, but not forgotten by God. And when David finally came in, God said, "This is the one, anoint him." 1 Samuel 16:7 says, "Man looks at the outward appearance, but the Lord looks at the heart." David's season in the pasture wasn't punishment, it was preparation. So what does it really mean to be chosen? The world says chosen means you're picked because you're the best, right? The strongest, the smartest, the most talented. And if you're not picked, then, according to the world, it must mean that you're not enough. And that's why rejection hurts us so badly. But the Bible tells a different story. To be chosen means that God sets you apart for His purpose, not because you're perfect, but because of His love and His plan. 1 Peter 2:9 says, "But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, His own special people." Now here's what's powerful. Peter wasn't writing this to a popular, successful people. He was writing it to Christians who were scattered, persecuted, and rejected by their own culture. They felt like outsiders. But Peter reminded them, you are not forgotten. You are chosen. You belong to God, and your purpose is to shine His light. Paul says it in Ephesians 1:4 and 5. He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world. Notice this. Paul didn't say God chose some and left others out. He said God chose us in Christ. That's key. The invitation is open to everyone, but it's in Christ Jesus that we step into that identity of being chosen. Jesus said in John 15:16, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you to go and bear fruit." That means you're chosen with purpose to live a fruitful life that points others to Him. So here's the truth. You are not overlooked. You are not forgotten. You are not a backup plan. Before the rejection, before the comparison, before the insecurity ever took root, God already called your name. And when you said yes to Jesus, you stepped into that reality. You are chosen in Christ. And friend, God doesn't call the qualified. He qualifies the called. So don't despise the waiting. Don't assume that delays mean you're doing something wrong. Sometimes the delay is God's preparation. Sometimes pasture is what gets you ready for the palace. God doesn't need you to look the part. I've had to learn this. He just needs your yes. Because in Christ Jesus, you are chosen. I want you to think about your reflection questions. Have you struggled to believe that you are truly wanted by God? And I want you to think, why or why not? So how does knowing that you are chosen in Christ change the way that you see your identity and purpose? What lies about yourself do you need to replace with God's truth this week? And then I want you to take a moment and I want you to write a prayer to God, thanking Him for choosing you in Christ. And reflect on how He's brought you out of darkness and into His marvelous light. Ask Him to help you walk boldly in your calling and live like someone who belongs to Him. But you are a chosen generation, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, His own special people. You guys have a great week.